Calvin, he gave up his memories to improve his abilities in the other world, and Melfina, the goddess of reincarnation, reincarnated him into the fantasy world. Even before reincarnation, he begged the goddesses to be his wife, and he proposed to her as soon as Calvin saw her. A god other than Melfina messed up and Calvin died as a result, so to make things right, she asked Melfina to reincarnate him and restore his life. So Calvin began his new life in the magical world with the starting stats. He was reincarnated as a summoner, a rare skill user with only one summoner every nation has. And Melfina joined him as well because she, too, fell for Calvin because he was so sweet to her. But Calvin is still far too weak to summon her, so she could only communicate with Calvin via telepathy. So the first thing he did was join a guild to be an adventurer. As for his class, he concealed his summoner class to avoid unwanted attention. He signed up as a F-class mage and took on the job of slime hunting. Calvin is a low rank, but his eyes have a S-rank skill. Calvin has appraisal eyes, which allow him to see anyone's stats. As for defeating a slime, it proved to be much more difficult due to the slime's agility. However, Calvin had it covered, and as he struck the slime and the HP fell, he used his summoning ability and made the slime his contracted monster, naming him. After that, Calvin was moved up by completing the jobs to an E rank quickly and was catching too much attention, so an D rank adventurer named Cashel invited Calvin to his party for their next job to take down a Dark Knight. But Calvin turned him down and turned this job into a race to see who could take down Dark Knight first, him or Cashel. Calvin did not join because there were rumors that any new adventurer who went with them never returned, and, as predicted, they were only looking to kill Calvin. However, because of his high stats and power, one of them decided to flee for his life, but he couldn't because Clotho was already on guard duty. Clotho got evolved as he leveled up just as they were about to face the Dark Knight. So, before confronting the Dark Knight, Calvin did a number on them. As he arrived in the palace room to face the Dark Knight, but after seeing the Knight's stats, Calvin wanted to make a contract with him, but instead of engaging in a fight, the Dark Knight was overjoyed to have a friendly conversation with Calvin. Gerard, the Dark Knight, did not mind serving Calvin, but Calvin must prove himself worthy of Gerard's service. It was the most intense battle Calvin had since arriving in this world, and it took almost everything he had to defeat Gerard and force him to sign the contract. Gerard was a knight commander in the kingdom of Alcar. However, one day, an elf named Gildara came to the palace with the message to surrender to the elf kingdom. Naturally, they refused to surrender, so he left with a warning that the entire kingdom would crumble for refusing his proposal. After a few days, a plague broke out, killing everyone in the kingdom, including his wife and child. But he survived and transformed into a dark monster with consciousness. So Calvin finished the job and gave Cashel and his party to Kings. However, while he was in the guild master noticed that Calvin is a summoner and was purposefully concealing his ability. Leo's appraisal eyes are of a level A, so he can see through Calvin. Leo also knew peoples like Kelvin, heroes of the Holy Empire of Diramis. When the Holy Empire's priestess sensed the Demon King's revival, she summoned the heroes from the other world. And, while the hero takes care of the Demon King, Leo requests that Kevin protect him. He would keep his summoning ability hidden in return of this. Claire, the innkeeper, was overjoyed that Kelvin had been promoted to be rank adventurer. In the meantime, Kelvin brought a half-elf slave he had seen on his first day in this world, but he lacked money at the time. But now as a B-rank adventurer, he does not lack money. He chose the elf, but there was one catch: despite her beauty, she wasn't sold. That elf received one of the Dragon King's cures, which burns anyone who touches her. Despite this, Kelvin purchased her and removed the curse, and her name is Aphil. And Aphil became acquainted with the guild and jobs, and since Kelvin was free, Angie invited Kelvin and Aphil out for some quality time together. However, their date was ruined by the third price of the Trison, a military nation. He was lusting after Aphil and Angel, but Kelvin showed him his true place. Cabra wanted to meet with Leo because he had received information about a powerful adventurer and wanted to hire him to gain some status among the royal court. He even offered Kevin the job, but he declined. Melfina, on the other hand, paid a visit to the priestess and gave her consent to send the heroes to the western continent, but she also forbade them from going to Parth, as she told the priestess. Everyone in the gang was disappointed to see the stats of the heroes when Melfina returned. In comparison to Kelvin and the others, their level was a total letdown. Following that, Kelvin received a call from Leo to discuss an extremely important matter. A group of adventurers discovered a demon's lair in a dungeon. As they made their way inside, they came across two demons. One was chained and the other one was an arch-demon named Victor. The girl in chains was the demon lord's daughter, and the Victor desired to eat and gain power from the Demon King's blood. But he can't do it unless a human breaks her chains, and now that Kelvin was there, he wanted to fulfill his dream of becoming a demon king by consuming him and gaining the ability to break the chain. Then eating and gaining the bloodline of a demon king, but it was all a lie to put Kelvin and his party to the test, because despite receiving a fatal strike from Kelvin, he still protected the girl. After revealing that he was the princess's caretaker, the demon king Gustav places him in charge of the princess's safety and hides her from the world. When the hero killed the demon king Victor, he took the princess Sarah away and waited for a fated person to arrive and break the Sarah seal. Victor only took a promise before dying, to accept Sarah and protect her as he does his other monsters. He had predicted Kelvin was the summoner all along, so they broke the seal on Sarah and welcomed her into the party. Sarah had adapted to her surroundings, and now Kelvin and his party were on their way to Taraja's water country just to taste rice. And Malfina left again to enter one of her avatars so that Kelvin could summon her. Her class is that of a god, so Kelvin can't summon her unless she enters one of her avatars to conceal her class. On their way, a band of bandits from the Black Wind attempted to trouble Kelvin, but their levels were too low for Sarah to deal with them. And then delivered them to the Adventurers Guild, where they met the guild's leader, Mist. Concerning the Black Wind, Kristoff of the Trison previously defeated the Black Wind gang and took control. He was regarded as a national hero, but in reality, he was involved in every dirty business including murder, robbery, and slave trading. Even with this much evidence, they can't just take action against him because he was a national hero. But they could all sense that the hero's party had just entered the Taraj. Mist then officially requested that the hero's party handle the Black Wind. However, it is Kelvin who will handle it. As they arrived, they all saved the slaves that Black Wind had captured. Among them were Ellie and Ruka. Unfortunately for Kristoff, Kelvin and his party, they were above them and easily defeated all of them. On the other hand, the hero's party arrived but mistook Clotho for harming the people there. And just as the hero's party arrived to assist the renowned adventurer, they mistook Kelvin for the leader of the Black Wind. And Kristoff for being an explorer. So that brings us to the end of today's video. If you want to know what happens next, please subscribe to the channel.